So Hare Krishna, we'll start the session by paying our obeisances to Srila Prabhupada, who is founder Acharya of ISKCON. And we'll also seek blessings from our spiritual masters, His Holiness Gopal Krishna Maharaj and His Holiness Radhanath Swami Maharaj. And we'll be discussing chapter 2 today. Chapter 2 is titled as Contents of the Gita Summarized. And we have a total of 72 verses in this section. And today uh, we are planning to cover verse 31 to 37, which primarily talks about Sakam Karma, right? So we have already covered, that Arjuna was further putting forward his, justifications of why, he will not fight. He then said that I'm confused. I don't know what to do, what not. And then finally he surrendered on to Krishna in 2.7, right? And then Krishna took charge and then he started speaking. Uh, he started, so, this Gyan Sankhya was his first instruction to Arjuna, right? Preliminary instruction, what we can say. And thereafter, today, we are going to discuss more about, Sakam Karma. So performing prescribed duties will give us enjoyment, right? Because now Arjuna put forward some doubts. And first was compassion. And Krishna replied, to nullify that reason by highlighting that, we are not this body, we are soul. Yeah? And, when it comes to your duty, you should just go ahead, right? Anyway, everyone is going to, leave the bodies. So why to lament when you are discharging your dharma, right? So all these things have been widely discussed. And in this section, section 31 to 37, Arjuna second reasoning about enjoyment. He said, if all my relatives die, I will not be able to enjoy. While Krishna will say uh, in this section that if you don't fight, then you will not be able to enjoy, right? So he counters Arjuna's reasoning for not fighting, and we will see how he counters, right? So, so this is first verse. This is 2.31 from Bhagavad Gita. Will anyone like to recite this verse? Oh, I thought there will be 4 or 5 devotees who will like to recite. No one. Okay.
I will try, Sumitji, if no one
Okay.
else.
Okay. Thank you, Shanmukti.
Hare Krishna. Swadharmamapi chavikshya na vikampitumarhasi dhamyadhi yuddhat shreyo anyat kshetriyasya na vidyate.
Thank you very much, Shanmukti. So, who will read the translation?
I'll read Sumit.
Thank you, Dipesh.
Considering your specific duty as Kshatriya, you should know that there is no better engagement for you than fighting on religious principles, and so there is no need for hesitation.
Right. Now, the important thing is that so far, Krishna has given us a preliminary knowledge, right? That we are not this body, we are this soul, right? He has extensively explained, right, through different means by giving different examples. Okay, now fine. If we understand that we are not this body, we are this soul, then what next? And last time, a couple of you had asked questions, right? Relevant questions that okay, fine, if you are not this body, if you are soul, then what next? What should we be doing then, right? And that is what Krishna is going to explain in this section, right? This section is entitled as Sakam Karam, or sometimes we also call it Karam Kanda, right? Now, uh, Krishna is trying to gradually take Arjun to the highest level in the yoga ladder. And basically, what we can say is that this is the lowest rung in the yoga ladder. Karm Kand, or in short, what we can say is doing our prescribed duties in adherence with the instructions from Vedas, right? That is known as Karm Kand, primarily, you know, and that is the basic thing, because lower than Karm Kanda people are atheists, who can do anything and everything, but not in adherence to the Vedas, not in adherence to scriptures, right? They will do all nonsense. These people, people who are Karam Kandis, or who are following Sakam Karam, they also want to enjoy same as the atheist. But the only difference is these people, they are adhering to the Shastras, to the Vedas. And just by adherence to Vedas, what happens is that their heart purifies. And they will also be eligible to go to the higher planets within this universe, right? Not beyond this universe, but within this universe, they can uplift themselves to higher planets like Swargaloka, right? So there are multiple advantages of being in this, path of Karma Kanda. And this is basically the preliminary path. It is the you can understand in a sense that it is the first rung on the yoga ladder, right? So now Krishna here says Swadharma api chavekshya, right? Now chavekshya means it is indeed considering, right? That you should by default consider your swadharma, right? You should, when this has come on its own, right? You should follow your swadharma. Na vikampitum arhasi. Kampitum means trembling. Earlier we saw in the first chapter, Arjuna said, now, I'm trembling, and he was in tears, and then his quiver was falling off his hand, right? And his bow Gandiva also. So here Krishna is saying, na vikampitum arhasi. Why is Krishna saying that? Right? Because see, any type of external trembling is because of the weakness within the heart. The indecision within the heart of Arjuna made him to tremble. And Krishna says here that there is no need to tremble when you are doing your swadharma, right? There is no greater shreya, dharmyad yuddha shreyo anyat. When you are doing your dharma, right? What is the dharma? Yuddhach. For whom kshatriyasya na vidyate. Now this this what Krishna is also using the word shreya. Shreya means that is the glorious task. This is the best good you can do, right? When in 2.7, someone will like to recite 2.7. We memorize that words, right? Will someone karpanne karpanne dosho? Harshad, you would like to recite?
Yeah.
Mhm.
कार्पण्यदोषोपहत स्वभावः पृच्छामि त्वां धर्मसम्मूढचेतः यच्छ्रेयस्यानिश्चितं ब्रूहि तन्मे शिष्यस्तेऽहं शाधि मां त्वां प्रपन्नम्.
Very good. Thank you, Arshad. So here Arjuna says, Yat Shreyas, Shan Nishitan Bruhi Tanme, Yat Shreyas. What is Shreyas? He's asking, tell me, Krishna, what is my Shreya? What is best for me? Right? And here, that is what Krishna is telling Arjuna, that as a Kshatriya, when this war has come, and this is it is a dharma yuddha, you know this is not like out of impulsivity that you are here, right? You tried your best. Pandavas tried their best to avoid this war. They were happy with their kingdom, and Yudhishthir and Krishna said that even if you don't want to give back, just give us 5 villages. But Duryodhana would not do that, right? So Pandava tried to avoid this. But now when it has come, then they have to do something to establish dharma. And if they have to establish dharma, for establishment of dharma, they will have to fight. Now, Prabhupada in the purport gives the definition of Kshatriya. Now, does anyone remember?
Yeah. Who protects from one being hurt?
Yes,
So,
Shat.
Chat.
Shat means hurt or harm. Triya means trayate, right? Giving protection. So Kshatriya's duty is very, very important. Now, if these, the judge in the court, he runs away saying that I cannot give, judgment because of this criminal is my relative. Or if these police people, they say that we cannot do this because this person is my friend or something, what will happen then? It will be society of chaos, right? So regardless of who the criminal is, a person who is in a leadership position will have to execute his dharma. And Kshatriyas, their dharma is to protect the citizens. And please try to understand that it is not only physical protection, it is also because, the whole scriptures, the whole injunction is to take the soul to the gradual upliftment, right? And the end result is that the soul should be involved in devotion to Krishna. So, yes, Kshatriyas are supposed to take care and protect the bodies, the physical body, but also they are supposed to protect the dharma, the the spirituality, right? Which is why it was very important for Arjuna to fight, because the Duryodhana was a demon, right? He would have created chaos, right? What he did to Draupadi, if he is doing this to one of his relatives, what he would do to others, and what a wrong example he's setting, you know, for the society. If a king does something like this, what is Praja going to do? So it is very important to understand these basic things. Thereafter, now we see the word swadharma is used. Now, it is duty. Like there are basically two type of duties for us. So if you see God, Krishna, he's fully spiritual, right? His body is spiritual. We say like Paramam Purusham Divyam, right? In Bhagavad Gita 8th chapter, you will come across this verse where Krishna is said as Paramam Purusham Divyam, Parabrahma, right? Also in 10.12 also. So Krishna it's not like us, we have a soul, we are soul and we have a body. No, no. Krishna is fully spiritual. His body is transcendental, Divya, right? So Krishna is fully spiritual, while matter is totally, it is material. Our body is made of what? it is made up of, what we are as human beings, it is made up of two elements, right? Panch Mahabhut, and we are also ourselves soul. So we are a combination of both spirit and matter, right? Which is why we have to do both the duties. Both the duties means we have to take care of the body as well as we have to take care of our primary responsibility, which is spirituality, right? At a material level, uh, take care of relatives, friends, society, animals, demigod. But at a spiritual level, we have to develop devotion towards Krishna. That is our constitutional duty, right? And Krishna himself has said that depending on our psychophysical nature, you know, he has divided this society into four uh, uh, varnas, right? So what are those? We will see in this 4.13. This words come in the fourth chapter. Someone will like to recite this. This is a very important verse. Shanmukh will recite. Okay.
चतुर्वर्ण्यां मया सृष्टं गुणाकर्म विभागसाः तस्य कर्ता प्रमापि मां विद्याकर्तारमव्ययं तस्य कर्तारपि मां विद्याकर्तारमव्ययम्.
Right. Oh, very nice. Thank you very much, Shanmukh. Chaturvarnyam Maya Srishtam. He says that these four divisions of human society have been created on the basis of guna and karma. The basis of guna, karma, vibhagasha. I have divided them, the human society into four uh, uh, divisions on the basis of their guna, karma, psychophysical nature. Tasya kartaram apimam, that I have done this, right? Vidya akartaram avyayam. But you have to understand that nonetheless, I am not touched by these, right? I am yet the non-doer and unchangeable, right? Krishna is above these, four divisions of human society on the basis of guna and karma, right? So which is what we saw about swadharma. So all of these divisions have their swadharma. For example, there are ashram, these are varnas, right? Chatur varnam maya system, and therefore ashrams also, right? Does anyone know what are the four ashrams? Ashrams are, yeah, Harshad, you want to try?
I remember two of them, like Grihasthashram and Vanaprasthashram.
Very good.
I'm not able to recollect the first two.
Brahmacharya.
Yes,
Arya,
yes.
Grihastha, Vanaprastavana, and Sannyasa.
Very good, very good. So this is our varna ashram system, right? So varna ashram system has to be followed when we are on a material level, right? Because it helps us for gradual advancement, gradual enlightenment, right? So this is Varna. Four Varnas are, Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra. So we will discuss it in extensively in 14th chapter, that depending on the modes of nature. So Brahman is a mode of goodness and Kshatriya is a mode of goodness and passion. Vaishya is mode of passion and ignorance, while Shudra is primarily in mode of ignorance. And then Prabhupada also highlights that in the purport that depending on their duty, right, a Kshatriya has to perform his duty. And we discussed, previously also, that what are the duties of Kshatriya, and they cannot run away from their duties, as a doctor cannot run away from his duty, right? So all of us have our particular dharma, right? Now, dharma is something, someone will like to read this?
I'll do that, Smith.
Yes, yeah.
Dharma means that which cannot be given up, or that which is a constant companion. Water and liquidity cannot be separate. Salt and saltishness cannot be separated. Fire cannot be separated from heat and light. Now look at the world around you. What is it that cannot be separated from a living being?
Okay. Now, if this is the definition of dharma, now if I ask Harshita, what is your dharma? Harshita will say, my dharma is what? Harshita, what is your dharma? If someone asks you a question, what is your dharma? What will you say?
Whatever is
I am
a
Hindu.
responsibility. Yeah, okay.
I am Hindu. As is basically, if dharma comes, we say, in a form, if someone asks you, what is your dharma? What is your religion? It's a Hindu. But really your religion, this, someone becomes, tomorrow they will become Muslim, they can become Christian, they can, whatever they can. This so-called dharma keeps changing. But here the definition of dharma is different. Dharma is something which cannot be given up, or that which is a constant companion. Which is why, in Vedas, does anyone know that our Vedas, they never talk about Hinduism? What this Hinduism has been given to us by Persians, Parsi, because they used to call people who are living across the Sindh river as Hind. They cannot pronounce this properly, so they will call Hind. And then it came that all these people they are Hindus. In our literatures, in our Vedas, it is mentioned as Sanatan Dharma. Sanatan. It is eternal. It is that cannot be changed. Something which is eternal component of us, that cannot be changed. Like the liquidity cannot be, it is a constant companion in the natural position. It is a constant companion of the water. Like saltishness is a constant companion, right? Heat and light is a constant companion of fire. So what is our constant? What is the thing which cannot be separated from us as a soul? What are the things? What is our basic, constitutional position in that sense? What do we always do that we will keep doing, always?
Breathe.
Our work by the religious principles, whatever we're supposed to do, whatever we must do.
Yes.
As long as this.
Yes. Our service, right?
Soul is there in the body.
Yes. Soul, service. It is nature of the soul. Soul is always
Soul
active.
is there.
And Dipeshji, you want to add something?
No, I was referring to something, breathing, which we cannot live.
Yeah. Breathing. So breathing is something related to the body, right? But something more on a level of the soul.
Sir, attending to our prescribed duties.
Yeah. Yes. So those prescribed duties, it can be. So what? Service. Basically, we are always active. As a C, please try to understand that when a soul is in this body, even if they are in this body, they are active. So when we leave this body, whatever body you are in, the soul will be active. And when we go to the spiritual world, there also our activity continues, right? So Acharya says that there are two constant things, two constant companion of us. What are they? The service and love. These are the two things. If you see anyone around you, they are after these things. Now, why this person? What is he doing? He's in a chemist shop or some normal shop, you know. Uh, so he is serving the customers. He's busy in his service because he has to take care of the family out of love for them, right? All the father nowadays, even mother, right? They go out for work. Why? Because, you know, they want to serve. They want to serve their kids. They want to serve their family, and they have love, right, for their relatives, for their friends, for their family members, right? Whatever a person does, if you see, this lady may not have any, relatives. There are many people in the West. um, they don't have anyone to love, so they will keep cats and dogs in their houses, right? And they love them. uh, because this is our tendency, that we want to love and serve everyone. But unfortunately, what happens is all these relationships are punctuated by death. Whatever we are doing, whether it is for our family, kids, or animals, that love and service ends when we leave the body, because all of this is on a bodily platform. So in order for us to have something eternal, Sanatan Dharma, where should this service and love be dovetailed is very important. And that is where it is said. Will someone like to read this?
Yeah, I can do it. Krishna is eternal, soul is eternal, and the loving relationship between the two is also eternal. That eternal love and service is called as Sanatana Dharma.
So that is why Krishna is saying in all these verses, what we have run, Man bana bhav mad bhakto madhyajivam namaskuru, right? Sarva dharman parittaje mam ekam sharnam braja. Actually, he's highlighting that thing, briefly, in piecemeals. Sometimes, he takes us gradually to that point, and then elaborately it is described in Srimad Bhagavatam, right, which is a natural commentary on Brahma Sutra, right? So, see, we have love and service for everyone in this world, right? It is not that, we should be ignorant, but the thing is, if you keep Krishna in the center, everything should be related with Krishna. You are taking care of your family because Krishna has given you that responsibility, and they are devotees of Krishna, right? You are doing your duty because you have to take care of your body and soul in order to perform spiritual duties, right? You give a part of your salary in charity, in book distribution, Bhagavad Gita, or taking care of the temple, or because all the rest of the three ashrams are dependent on Grahastha ashram. Grahastha ashram, in a sense, is the most important, because brahmachari, vanpras, and sannyas, they depend on Grahastha ashram. So our intention 24 hours a day is to be Krishna conscious, because that is what you asked last time, that if we are soul, what we should do then? We should not take care of the body. And I told you that there is a verse in Srimad Bhagavatam which says what we should do and how we should do, right? And I have tried to pull this verse for all of you. So will someone like to read this?
Yeah, I will read.
Mhm.
Those who are interested in reviving Krishna consciousness and increasing their love of Godhead do not like to do anything that is not related to Krishna. They are not interested in mingling with people who are busy maintaining their bodies, eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. They are not attached to their homes, although they may be householders. Nor are they attached to wives, children, friends, or wealth. At the same time, they are not indifferent to the execution of their duties. Such people are interested in collecting only enough money to keep the body and soul together.
Harshita, how was this? Harshita,
Sorry, yeah.
how was this? What is your opinion about this verse?
Yeah, if at all you are interested in Krishna, then you would not like to do anything like whenever you are busy. It's not that if at all you are busy, then you would not give time to Krishna. I
Right.
don't
So
know whether I'm right. Yeah.
right, if someone tells you that I am a devotee of Krishna, right? So anyone who is a devotee of Krishna, the basic responsibility of that devotee is highlighted in this verse. Is that these people will not they will not be interested in mingling with people who are busy maintaining their body. So devotees will not like to interact a lot with non-devotees, with people who are just busy in you know ahar nidra beh maithunja, in all these four things. So devotees will not like to mingle with them more than what is required you know for our day-to-day life. We are not going to spend extra time with them. As long as you have to do your work, you do that and walk away. The devotees are not attached to their homes also, although they may be grahasthas, they may be householders, nor are they attached to the wives, children, friends, or wealth. So the devotees, that means not only that they are not attached to the infrastructure as a house, but also people who are living with the house, that our family members, right? At the same time, they are not indifferent to the execution of their duties. So the important thing for us to understand here is what Vedas are saying, that, for example, I will explain you with a simple example. And I think so I must have given it in past. So if you are going from Bangalore to Delhi by Karnataka Express train, okay, so you have got a middle berth in one train, right? So you have started your journey, right? Now there are people around you, right? Now there will be some vendors also, will be giving water, lunch, dinner, everything. Now you if you want to reach Delhi, peacefully with comfort, you will try to accommodate everything as much as possible with people around you, with the vendors also and everyone. Fan, someone wants fan or they don't want, okay, tolerate it. Aim is to reach Delhi somehow. If there is some discomfort also, you will tolerate it. It is not that someone is saying you just shift and you don't want to shift and then you will get out of the train. No, no, no. Keep sitting there, tolerate some discomfort, and try to be good with everyone around. Right. Some water is not too cold or not too normal, room temperature. It is not up to your expectation. Whatever is, you will take, and okay, it is for 1 2 days. No problem. That is what we have to do in this life. We are given these passengers in a sense of family members for this journey where we are in. You should take care of them. Don't get too involved that you get hold to them and now I will not go out of the train itself. Even if they have reached Delhi, I will keep sitting in this wagon because I like the berth, or the fan is good, the AC is good, the vendor was good, I keep stuck to the train. No, you are not insane person, right? You are not a foolish person. So you will get out when you have reached the destination, and you will not even get out of the train when you have not reached the destination. Similarly, you may have discomfort taking care of the family, doing the service, whatever. Keep the focus that whatever you are doing, you are keeping Krishna in the center. That's way you keep Delhi in the center when you want to reach Delhi. Tolerate all the inconveniences. Similarly, do your responsibility, do your duty, but keep Krishna in the center. In simple, this is what this verse is saying. Does anyone has any question on this?
Loving and serving all, keeping Krishna at the center.
Perfect. Yeah.
Sumit, thanks for sharing this. I felt this has got a lot of clarity basically in what we do and how we attach to things, and in what we do in our Grihastha ashram basically. Thank you so much. This is wonderful.
Thanks to Ved Vyas ji and Srila Prabhupada, who has brought this in a very easy manner. Everything is available so easily now. Okay, so let's go on to the next verse, which is talking about destination as Swarga. So someone like to read this Sanskrit verse?
I can try, Sumit.
Yes, please.
Yaddrachaya chappanam swargadwaram apavratam sukinaha kshatriya partha labante yuddham mitrasam.
Labante yuddham idrasham. Yes. Now, here Krishna is saying, someone will like to read the translation?
I can read myself.
Yes, please.
O Partha, happy are the Kshatriyas to whom such fighting opportunities come unsought, opening for them the doors of the heavenly planets.
Right. It is this war, as I was sharing the previous, this has come by its own accord, right? These people, they were not interested in fighting. And when this type of opportunities come to Kshatriya, it opens the door of heaven for them. Swargadwaram apavritam. It opens the door, wide open, apavritam. Sukhina Kshatriya Partha. And those Kshatriyas are very happy when these opportunities come to them. Right? So, and they want to, they seek these opportunities. Labhante. They want to, they look for these opportunities. Yuddham idrisham. Right? War like this. So, this is somehow little confusing for people who know about spirituality, because it seems here Krishna is advocating going to Swarga, right? Now, the reason why Krishna is mentioning here that it opens doors for heaven is because Krishna is taking the knowledge step by step. For now, he's talking about gradual enlightenment and not talking about liberation. Why? Because Arjuna's reasoning of not fighting was enjoyment, right? The second reason. So Krishna is just trying to answer him. Not that, here he has not yet started talking about, liberation or going to Golok, Vrindavan and Vaikuntha. No, for now, no. He's just focusing on what he was saying about, him not fighting because of he will not be able to enjoy, right? If enjoyment is what you want, Arjuna, you can get it by practicing Swadharma, right? And also we should note that Mahabharata as a scripture primarily talks about Karma Kanda. Practice dharma by which you can get artha and kama. This is, primarily, although it talks about, even at higher dimensions, but that acharyas will pull out those nectar from Mahabharata, but as a whole, the text, talks about more of karma kanda related rules and regulations. Follow dharma and you will achieve artha and kama. Now, for many of you, it will be an eye opener because till now we have heard this Swarga as the destination. Someone passes away, we say Swargvas ho gaya. Swargvas means they have achieved Swarga. Swarga is the highest destination for 99.99 people. Those who talk about religion, right? There is nothing beyond Swarga for them. But what does this, our scripture say about Swarga? Now, this is just the uh, basic map of one of the universe, right? I am not elaborating it in much detail about the whole spiritual world and the material world. This is just one universe, and there are millions, billions, and trillions of such universes. Okay, and within the one universe, so we are in a universe. We are here, right? This Earth, which is known as Bhurloka. Above this is Bhuvar, then Swargalok. So that what we talk about Indralok or Swargalok is this heavenly planet, right? Now, this is not the highest planet. Higher than this Mahar, then Jana, Tapaloka, and Satyaloka. This is the highest, that's also known as Brahmaloka. This is the highest, Satyaloka is the highest planet of this universe, the material planet, right? And then there is, all these Atal, Vital, Satal, Talatal, Mahatal, Rasatal, and Patal. Patal is the bottommost, right? So there is a verse in 8th chapter where Krishna is talking about the duties at the time of death. And there Krishna says, Abrahma bhavana loka anavartino Arjuna. Mamopetya kaunteya punarjarmna vidyate. So you go from topmost planet to the bottommost, everywhere there will be birth and death. Mamopetya to kaunteya. But if you come to my planet, punar janma na vidyate, there will not be any birth again, birth and death, right? So for now, Krishna is, he's not giving the highest philosophy. And you will see it time and again in Bhagavad Gita that Krishna will change gears, from one level to another level to, so you cannot just pick up, one verse and just say that because Krishna said this thing, no. Because if you read 2.45, the verse we will come maybe in next session or next to next session on that verse. Krishna there says that Vedas primarily talks about activities within the three modes of nature: Satoguna, Rajoguna, and Tamoguna. Arjuna transcend above these guna. So Krishna is saying go beyond and above the basic things mentioned in the Vedas, right? So that is why we have to understand that while it is it is Vedic, even for example there were sacrifices, uh, animal sacrifices and all, they are also mentioned in the Vedas, right? But Vedas are basically a handbook for for everyone who has taken birth, from person who is really very low in his mentality, his mankind and all that, consciousness, and also person who is very elevated in the consciousness, right? It can cater to at every level. So that is why some sacrifices are also given for people who are uh, used to eating meat, consuming meat and all, right? There is a method. And why there is a method? Because through that, they should, if, for example, they follow the Vedas, then they will say, what is more there in the Vedas, right? So Karma Kanda, if someone is following Vedas and they're following Vedas to enjoy life, what is we call as Sakam Karma or Karma Kanda, then even by doing that, it will gradually purify their heart because they are following something from the Vedas. And once their heart gradually gets purified, their heart will open up for more knowledge. And once they get more knowledge, they will be eligible for highest thing, which is bhakti, right? So that is important. that, Vedas, they cater to every level of human or living entity, says that, right? So just wanted to touch upon this. Any question on this? Okay, good. So we now go on to next verse. So someone can read both the verses. They talk about, if you run away, right, from the war field, from this battle field, then you will incur sin. You will not incur sin by fighting. Instead, you will incur sin if you run away. And also, not only sin, but you will get infamy, akirti. Lavanya ji, you will read. Anyone else will like to? I'm not able to hear you, Lavanya ji. Anyone else will like to read? Just that the translation you can read.
Okay, thanks, Amit. If, however, you do not perform your religious duty of fighting, then you will certainly incur sins for neglecting your duties and thus lose your reputation as a fighter. People will always speak of your infamy, and for a respectable person, dishonor is worse than a death.
Right. Yeah. So what Krishna is saying, that you are a Kshatriya, and if you don't do dharma, you will lose. Yeah, that means you are not following religious principles. And if you don't follow religious principles, then you will incur sin. Right? We have talked about the doctor example a number of times. If doctors say, I'm afraid of the blood, and it's so difficult, I cannot take out the pus from the wound, and uh, then you are just letting the person die. Right? How can a doctor say like that? So similarly, a Kshatriya cannot neglect his responsibility, his duty, his dharma, because they are supposed to protect citizens, right? And then Krishna says, akirtika, infamy. If you, not only that you will incur sin, but people will criticize you. You will, criticism and this infamy is you will not be able to tolerate that, right? And here, Krishna is not talking, here about very high principles. He's just putting forward what is a universal pattern here, right? That is what we are saying, that these instructions are at a level of sakam karma, right? What is happening, what was happening in the society, that if you don't do your duty, you will be blamed, right? In no way it is said that Krishna is encouraging us to do something for becoming famous, right? No, that is not the intent of this, right? He is uh, he's not encouraging here for people to work like animals, right? Dharma, not like, ahara nidra bhamathunicha samane metam pashubir naranam. He's not at all, encouraging that. And as devotees, we ourselves are not concerned about our reputation, right? But we are only concerned about reputation of Krishna or a spiritual path, right? And we also know uh, that if we as a devotee, if we do something wrong, then it will not only impact us, but it will also give wrong name to Krishna and the path, the spiritual path altogether. So we should be very careful in our conduct, right? So that is very important thing. Also, we should be mindful of one fact, that these harsh words um, are more painful to people than a physical wound. Because if someone is in pain because of some physical ailment, no one is going to no one is going to commit a suicide. But if someone is emotionally hurt, they end up committing suicide. So, we should be very careful about these things, that, we understand um, that for a person, dishonor is worse than death, right? Which is what Krishna is basically highlighting here, that for you it will be impossible to live if people, talk bad about you, that you ran away from the battlefield, you didn't do your duty, right? So here in these 35 and 36, Krishna highlights that not only you will incur sin by not doing your duty, not only people, will you be, dishonor, but also they will criticize you, right? So someone will like to read this.
Yeah, I will do it.
Mhm.
Criticism. The great generals who have highly esteemed your name and fame will think that you have left the battlefield out of fear only, and thus they will consider you insignificant. Your enemies will describe you in many unkind words and scorn your ability. What could be more painful for you?
Yeah, thank you, Prashad ji. So now our actions are seen by people while they don't see our motivation. So they would only see that Arjuna ran away from the battlefield. No one is going to see his intent, right? And on the basis of our action, people develop their perception, right? Because they cannot see our motivation. Only people who are close to us, right, who know what's the reason behind our act, they can understand our motivation. But other people, people at large, general public, they cannot understand, right? So, so our action should be such that they should not lead to wrong perception. Again, as a devotee, we should be very careful. We are all on a spiritual path, so we have to be, mindful of this thing, because, now when you will start following spirituality, you know people will really see you, with double glasses, right? So our action should be such that they should not lead to wrong perception. And there is something known as attributional error, right? Um, Whatever we see, right, something happening, some action, we try to attribute that action, just thinking that what could be the motivation behind, right? For example, someone is eating a lot, right? Or someone, because of some reason, someone slept a lot. We may say, oh, this person is so greedy, he's eating so much, right? The action of a person is basically ascribing, it is cause of, it is attributing a change of perception in our own mind, thinking that that will be the motivation of that the motivation, they may be very greedy or very lazy person, right? So we see action and ascribe a motivation to it, which is actually known as an attributional error. But what happens when it comes to us? If I am sleeping, more than usual, I always have a reason for myself. Oh, I'm so tired. And if by chance I'm eating a bit more than usual, or a bit or a lot, then also I'll say, oh, I'm so hungry and I had not eaten well for last. But when it comes to others, you know, we always try to, connect those things, thinking that that will be the motivation of a person. So that is also known as an attributional error, basically. And that is a human tendency, right? So we should learn to avoid this attributional error, right? As a devotee, we need to be very careful, because, you know, we always try to, it is a human tendency to see faults in others. So we should be careful with that. We shouldn't attribute a motivation seeing any action of anyone, right? Until unless you really know. And our entire aim should be to help others, right? And not to criticize or just leg pulling. Yeah. And we discussed that, um, when we are talking in general, don't give specific instructions to anyone until and unless that person comes to you asking for something specific, right? Um, don't just go too much in details of anything, whether it is spirituality or whether it is anything else, right? Otherwise you will just be blamed, and we have seen that practically. You might have all seen that. You want to help a person, but you'll be blamed, because you went beyond what the other person was asking you, right? And it even comes to spirituality, that we should not give um, personal instructions to anyone until and unless they come back to you. Okay, so be careful about that. So we will move on to the last verse for today, which is verse number 2.37. Will someone like to read this verse?
I will read Sumit. Hare Krishna. अतो वा प्राप्यसे स्वर्गं जित्वा वा भोक्ष्यसे महीम् तस्मादुत्तिष्ठ कौन्तेय युद्धाय कृतनिश्चयः.
Thank you very much, Shanbhukji. Someone will like to read the translation?
Sumitji, one point, this Swargam,
Mhm.
that Sanskrit text looks like something missing.
Swar. Oh, there is only ma is not there.
Swarga,
Huh?
ma is
Ah.
missing.
Mhm. Okay. Someone will like to read the translation?
I'll read Sumitji.
Yeah, please.
O son of Kunti, either you will be killed on the battlefield and attain the heavenly planets, or you will conquer the and enjoy the earthly kingdom. Therefore, get up with determination and fight.
Thank you very much, Dipeshji. So while Arjuna was lamenting that it is a lose-lose situation for me, right? If I fight, I'll be the one responsible for their death, right? It would look like, I'm enjoying anything and everything uh, on the blood of my relatives, right? And I will go to hell. While Krishna is saying it is a win-win situation for you. If you win, you are going to enjoy the earthly kingdom. And if you die fighting for religion, you'll go to Swarga, right? So basically, here, as we discussed, Krishna was highlighting uh, what are the duties, basic duties, religious, duties, duties of a human being, that we should stick to Vedas, right? When it comes to normal people, right? And Krishna will go much deeper from 2.38 onwards. From 2.38 to 2.53, Krishna will talk about Nishkam Karma. Here he highlighted Sakam, and thereafter, point 2.38, he will change the gears again, and he will start highlighting about Nishkam Karma, that we should work, but without expecting any particular outcome or trying to enjoy something from what we are doing, right? All those verses. Neha Vikramanashu Asti, then Karmanneva Adhikaraste, right? All these important verses will come. So very, very interesting actually will be the next section. Okay, so before we end, I just want to, okay, we have one more, like us. Okay, this was a summary slide to recap of what we did, right? Krishna talked about the duty, right? Swadharma, then destination, and if you don't fight, you will incur sin. Um, there will be infamy, criticism, and if you just fight, then it will be benefit either way, right? So to summarize this, if you don't fight, you run away, then you'll be criticized as a coward by your opponents, right? Earlier, you had gained a lot of reputation as, from Indra and Shiva. You were blessed by them because, you were so chivalrous, right? And Krishna is requesting him to don't run away from your prescribed duty, from your Swadharma. And performing prescribed duties will help to purify your heart. And when your heart will be purified, you will be eligible to gain knowledge of the soul. And this is something very important, right? Because, as we do our spiritual duties, you will see gradually what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, Cheto Darpan Marjanam. So it is like clearing the dust from the mirror of our heart. So when we follow these rules and regulations, this dust will be cleaned. And then we will be able to see, our constitutional position, right? So, and once that knowledge is awakened, we will come to the stage of Buddhi Yoga. That is devotional service, right? Devotion to Krishna. So now I want to open the floor for questions. Any questions, comments, or any suggestions you have?
Swamiji, one question. Um, see, as of now, we don't need a life, right? We don't need a life like maybe as Arjuna has a fight, has a war to fight.
Mhm.
We have a life to lead, and friends, spouses, these are a part of our life, and taking care of them is a duty, right?
Mhm. Yeah,
So, is that described as a prescribed duty? And if yes, then I know attachment is not a solution, but we can't ignore them as well.
right. Which is what in that verse we saw, right? You cannot be indifferent, right? So there has to be a fine balance, right? What we described from the example of the train, please try to understand, Dipesh ji, that we had similar families in millions of life we have already lived, right?
Hmm.
And this is one of those. And they will be, if we don't follow, the spiritual path, there will be again millions of life. This is the only platform. The human birth is the only platform from where we can really go beyond this transmigration. We can, right? We have to, we cannot be neglectful, first thing, right? To our family members, to the society at large. We have our responsibilities. We have to undertake those things. But in a way, that is not taking us away from our primary responsibility,
Hmm.
right? So if I am going to Delhi because I have to go to Medical Council of India for some work. Now in my journey, I got stuck so much that I didn't want to, because someone was getting out at maybe Hyderabad on my way. I was so attached that I also, you know, dropped. I also went out of the train, right, on that station. Or if I went to Delhi, I didn't go to Medical Council of India because of my attachment to someone else, or I just don't want to leave the train. But there may be a number of reasons, or I had a fight in which then I had to go to the hospital. See, what we have to do is don't fight, don't get too attached. Balance your life, keep focus. We have to keep focus. The focus is don't Don't do anything which will take you away from your primary goal. And the primary goal is spiritual life. So if you think that there is anything which is, sort of creating a hindrance, then you have to manage that. Now, if for example, uh, it is said that if you have to manage the work in a way, for example, the acharyas, they give an example that if you are too attached to someone in a material sense, right? If you are too attached to, you are a married person, but you are attached to someone else, you will make sure you will take care of this family more than you would have normally done, so that they don't have any doubt of your attachment to that person. Similarly, you should take care of this family so that they don't become hindrance. Just but in your heart, your the main thing is our consciousness, our chetana. That is the most important thing, that your consciousness should be every time, at every point of time, you are doing something because of Krishna, because of God, right? Because of his spirituality.
Right.
And that same activity, people will not understand, Dipesh ji. There can be two doctors, and both of them are doing surgery. They are going from home to the hospital, operation theater, and they are doing surgery. But the consciousness of this person is to take care of the family who is a devotee family. Money, what he is earning, he will give into temple for donation. His life is full spiritual life. The other person is doing the surgery because he will earn money. He'll go and drink, he will go here and there, pass his time, spend money, showing his lavish and artificial fame and all that thing. So the difference in these two is not the activity but the consciousness.
Hmm.
If you remember, in the initial introductory class, we saw that example of a person shooting. A soldier on our front is fighting for country, but someone, if you shoot your neighbor because of some fight, you will be a criminal. So a soldier will be awarded because he killed the enemies for the country. But so activity is not important. The consciousness, or why you are doing that activity, is important.
Right. Thank you.
And we are grahasthas, we have to do our duty. We have to make sure, uh, you know we all should live a very simple life.
Hmm.
Simple life, so that that you might have heard of some financial independence or all those things. Live simply, save money. Don't have very high unrealistic goals in life for anything, whether it is your kids education, kids, anything for yourself, anyone. Just live a simple life. Please try to understand, happiness will not come from money, from education, from reputation, from anything material. Happiness will come from love.
Correct.
And that love, that genuine love, can only be reciprocated between devotees. Otherwise, every other person in this society is selfish, very self centered. Everyone is there to, exploit each other, whatever relation you are in. So, we should keep our life very simple, and just try to, we should never deviate from the focus. Okay.
Correct. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Any other comment or question?